Hi.
Spooky.
Hello, and welcome to Alpha Book Club, and happy Nerdoween!
Yay!
Yay! I'm so excited, and we're in a spooky set right now.
Spooky, scary.
So
Yeah,
it's
looks like someone died
Boys
in
becoming
here.
men,
Men becoming wolves. Yes.
Joining me as usual are my favorite people, Geek and Sundry's Hector Navarro.
What's that?
And no, the month is over.
Huh? Okay.
And Geekbomb's Maude Garrett.
Hi guys. I will not say what's up in any capacity with my tongue outside of my face.
All right, let me try it again. Happy Halloween.
You tricked us.
I gotcha. That's right.
Oh, how dare you.
Oh, we got wine again.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's get this going.
Halloween. Could have done
Halloween.
Halloween, but went with Wineween.
Halloween.
Wineween.
Woo! Can't we talk about this book?
We're so excited. Welcome to our Alpha community. We're so thrilled that you're with us reading thrillers this month. We're excited to talk to you. It's October. It's my favorite time of year, and we're reading a murder mystery, and it's also the 1-year anniversary of Alpha Book Club.
What?
I just
Right now,
realized
today?
as I was
Oh
saying
my
it.
goodness, guys.
October was our first month.
Okay, let's quickly and get the chatting in it as well.
Yes.
Even though we've got a lot to talk about. Let's all reflect on our favorite book of the year.
Oh my God! First of all, can we
Yeah.
name them all? I remember the first one was House on
Haunted
Haunted
Hill.
Hill. Then Wrinkle in Time.
Get our wrinkle on.
Get our wrinkle on.
Then it was the Stephen King's Dark Tower.
Then it was Dark Tower. I'm gonna need some help from the producer. I'm forgetting.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
1984. To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, that last one, the Robert, no, not the Magician's Apprentice.
Assassin's
Apprentice.
Thrawn.
Oh, American Gods.
Thrawn, American Gods.
American Gods.
What was the one we just did? The Giver.
The Giver.
Give a fuck.
That's 11, and now 12. And
Who
now
Now the book
get-
we're reading?
No,
right?
no,
There's
that's in October.
Who can guess the
It's
remaining
the last
book?
book we're missing.
shoot. Oh wait, wasn't it? We did.
Princess Bride.
Hey, Hector wins.
Oh, and don't forget bonus. We got
And we did bonus
Martian Chronicles.
Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan.
Yes.
Wonder
comic
Woman.
book.
Hecate.
Wonder Woman to
There you go.
Hecate. God
Hey,
damn. We
you
read
guys.
a lot.
Yeah, team.
We read a lot, and you guys read with us, and it's been such a great year, and
Yeah.
we love you guys so much. And
Aw.
that's so. I just
I love you
realized
guys so
as I
much.
said it. I know this
so
is
cool.
the.
How
we've said
fast
it
can we
before,
cry about
but
it? How fast can we cry about it?
Oh my God, so fast.
Well, there's wine here now. So.
I know.
I love you guys so much. I love reading and I love words. And
Wait.
it's,
I really
it's,
feel that
it's,
way.
I know. I do too. It's as a defense mechanism. I really feel that way as well. I don't know what my favorite one is. Maude, what's your favorite book that we've read so far? That's tough.
I was a big fan of American Gods.
Yeah.
I really liked sort of
a
the
good book.
contemporary fantasy element, and I also am a big fan of mythology. So sort of that intertwined was a lot of fun. And I mean, it was kind of interesting having a book that I loved so much, Ready Player One. My take on it evolved.
Oh, really?
So much. But because I read it the first time as just a fun, empty kind of. Oh, for the tissues, that's cute. You know, peace out. This was so much fun. And, oh my God, it's speaking to me in my core to actually have an intelligent, intellectual discussion about it and question a lot of things and go, wait a second. It's like watching The Phantom Menace when I was 13, even though I was, I think, 1 when it came out. And, you know, going, this was Star Wars, this is amazing. And then taking that time to be like, wait a goddamn second.
Yeah, that happens all the time. We're just getting more and more woke. We're getting woker and woker.
We are getting more and more woke.
That's two. That's two. On the list of nope.
I'm in my 30s. I can still say it. I can still say woke.
You're past it.
This morning, Maude, I woke up.
Okay, that's fair.
And I was like, I'm so woke.
No.
Shit, I can't say it anymore. Can't say it.
Oh man,
That's
no,
a
it's
boundary.
too
But
late.
that's what it's like with like when you watch Back to the Future Part 2 these days, you go, oh, this is super racist. I didn't realize when I was a kid. It's
what was
super
the rapey
racist.
one? The first or the second one?
The first one,
Yeah.
super rapey.
Rapey to racist. What
Yeah.
leaps and bounds. That's
Or
so cool.
like the Revenge of the Nerds becoming a very toxic mentality.
Yep,
I think
yep.
I watched Never Been Kissed on the plane back from Australia.
Was it a
And
problem?
it's like she went undercover, assumed a false identity, spied on people, literally wore a camera, and then the brother, to make her cool, said, yeah, we used to date. And she was like, a rocket in bed. And I was like, whoa!
I know. I feel bad because of all the teen movies of the 90s, my favorite one is Can't Hardly Wait. And I know that's a piece of shit movie, but I love it.
I love it.
And I know there's really messed up ideas about romance in it. It is.
Yeah.
American Pie. Yeah, your problematic
faves. It was a different
faves.
time too, and it's like we've learned so much. I've even, like you said, but in a better way because we're not using that word anymore.
You should become more socially aware.
Yes.
There it is.
And but I think too, from the very beginning, when we it was interesting because when we started and we were talking about Haunting of Hill House, and you hadn't really gotten into anything horror or scary before. Yeah. But we immediately kind of identified with different characters, and we brought in these very personal feelings into it. And I felt like that was such a good way to kick it in, where we were like, "Oh, we're friends. We're all friends right now, like day one." So that was really awesome.
And Rachel and I bonded over how unlike Maude we both are. But we were like, "Oh no, Maude's definitely the Catherine Zeta-Jones, and we're Eleanor. We're poor Eleanor."
We're Eleanor.
That was
crashing
immediately.
Into a tree.
That was so much fun. Crashing into a tree. What's been your favorite book, Rachel? You're a big time reader.
I am a
big time reader. Big old bookworm.
Big time reader here. I think my favorite. It's hard to say my favorite book. I think the experiences were all very different. I think American Gods was probably my favorite book that we read because there was so much in it. It was so meaty and so much to talk about, and we're all big like mythology nerds.
Yeah.
But my favorite experience was probably The Princess Bride because we all loved the film so much and we came from our own point of bias and knowledge. And then we had Carrie Elwes in here at the end. Like,
obvious highlight.
That was
a pretty big deal.
Shit book, great guest.
Shit book, great guest.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like we all kind of took different things from the book too. Yeah. And that's what I really like about this too. Like when you were out and we had The Giver and we'd been talking about it and you came back and you were like, no! And it just shifted the whole dynamic so much and it made me think, and I feel like, I don't know, I think that's part of it.
Even with books that I dislike or that I'm disliking, if we're talking about it, our discussion doesn't make me like hate it more. It makes me appreciate what the book is. For books that I'm really digging, the discussions a lot of the times with you two guys will make me appreciate the book way more. Or even a book I'm not totally on board with, we'll have a talk about it. Something like 1984, something like Dark Tower. If I'm struggling with it, we'll come in and talk about it, and I'll be like, "Fuck, this is really cool. This is really cool." Yeah, no, just what happened.
Yeah, tell me what happened here. I want to hear from the chat too. What was your favorite book that you read so far? If you've been with us since the beginning, we want to hear about that. And if you're just joining us, or you just joined us a couple months ago, you can actually go back and watch the previous episodes on Alpha and the different seasons and read along with us.
Definitely recommend the Dark Tower.
Dark Tower
was great. I loved that one.
Did you guys ever see that movie?
No.
I haven't yet either. I'm waiting for it to come out on DVD.
Me too. What was your favorite book? And in the chat, let us know your favorite so we can get to you guys.
I think my favorite might have been Wrinkle in Time because it just set my imagination on fire a little bit, which is really cool. That was one of my first guys, is this what books is? That's cool. I like what books is. I like to hallucinate.
Orlando Jones on too, remember?
Yeah.
Orlando Jones was such
epic guest. I was smiling for a week
Orlando
after that.
Jones should come back forever for every book.
You know what was great about that is that there was nobody who loved American Gods, the book, more than him. That's what was so cool about it.
Yeah, he had known it for so long. But to your point with A Wrinkle in Time, I like that we have your perspective, and we all love film and we all watch it, but coming in from reading a lot of books that have a film adaptation versus A Wrinkle in Time, which is going to get one, and you're going to see the other side of that with something that we're very excited about because it's Ava. We love Ava.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm gonna dislike the movie more than the book. There's no way possible.
That's why I'm excited for the movie.
Yes.
Because it's not going to. It's so different and so stretched from the book.
And I think too, what we liked in the book were these themes and ideas and the creativity and the world building. And so I think taking that
Did you mean to drink your wine like that?
Huh? How did I drink it weird? I drink it weird?
I'm going to have to do it with water because I have a feeling I'll spill it on myself.
What's the matter?
You just did. Can we get a nice thank you? It was kind of like
This is apparently how Hector drinks water.
But you spat half of it back into your cup.
Really? Really? My mouth gets that big? Look at that mess you made. There's no way. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So Anyway, that was fun.
Okay, in the chat we have lost the numbers. Alpha Book Club helped me get through Assassin's Apprentice.
Yeah, I reckon.
You're right there with you.
I heard so many great things. I feel responsible, but that's fun. We all go through it together, you know.
Thierry says Ready Player One, then American Gods. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool,
DeMarco said Thrawn. That was a fun one too.
It was boring, but I loved that book.
Yeah, I think the character was interesting.
So
even
interesting.
If the
I got a
plot
Thrawn
was
action
like,
figure. I got a Thrawn action. Now I feel like I can be one of those Star Wars nerds that's like, I know all about Thrawn and like love the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn. You know what I mean?
Actually, in canon.
I'm actually familiar with his adventure in canon.
The chess.
We should do the original Thrawn trilogy
would be so
on this
dope.
show sometime. That one
I would
is
be down for
good,
that.
but the original is.
I want to make you
good.
guys read a crappy, awesome old Star Trek novel. That's what I wanted. I mean,
I'm down,
I mean,
man.
That's what book club's all
gave me
about.
one. Yeah. I want to make you guys do that. That'd be great.
But now this book is a very different feel altogether. It's
I
not
guess
a mandatory.
kill the buzz here, Maude. Let's get into it.
It back,
But it's not a mandatory text that's in secondary or primary schools. It's not.
It's not sci-fi or fantasy.
It's not sci-fi.
And what a departure from
It's very modern.
from The Giver, which is for young kids.
Yeah.
And you finish a chapter in 8 seconds.
Yes.
To go from that to be like, oh hi, here's a book about adults written by adults for adults.
Yeah.
I still think The
It's
Dark
awesome.
Tower was the most difficult for me to read. I had to read every sentence almost twice.
1984 for me, but okay, it's up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this one, it is. It's an adult book.
Yeah.
They talk about fucking.
So first, while we have to dive into it, we have to introduce the book. So this month's book, if you're just joining us, is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I'm gonna say it right, I swear. She also wrote Dark Places and Sharp Objects, which I'd read highly recommend.
Murder mysteries as well?
They are
Or
sort of.
perspective?
Dark Places is about. I recommended all 3 of them, and I thought that she had a new book. I read them very quickly because I read this and then I saw them before the movie. I wanted to read it before the movie, and then I read her other ones. And she released like a short story, and I thought it was a book, and I got it on my Kindle and I read it in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, oh, curses! But the other Dark Places is about a woman whose entire family was murdered. Everyone thinks her brother did it. He's been in prison for years. She's been living kind of off the sad fame of that. And then this group of like people who are obsessed with solving murders who think her brother is innocent hire her, and she's broke now, to figure out what happened and to interview her. That one's really good.
Similar themes.
Yeah, a lot of similar themes. And Sharp Objects is about a woman, I believe she's a journalist, if I remember correctly, who left her town and it's got some mommy issues in it, and a girl goes missing in her town and she has to go back and figure out what happened.
I have a feeling there's a lot of, it's all kind of revolves around writers, and so she almost places herself in.
And not just writers, but because Gillian Flynn was a writer for Entertainment Weekly, she was a critic for Entertainment Weekly. There's a lot of pop culture and sort of just wrestling, like tackling the idea of fame. And the good and bad of it, which I think is fascinating. That Gillian's she's getting into it with how she feels about fame, and she's attaching it to how we all sort of get swept up in whenever a beautiful blonde white woman goes missing in the country, like that level of fame. But it's still, I feel like you can see her tying things to the entertainment industry.
And also to writing itself. I think you have both of these people who are writers in different ways.
They're so clever.
And even though, there's so much to get into here, but their perspectives, what I really like, it's hard to write two characters' perspectives in a book.
Agreed.
Without it sounding the same.
They feel
And what
so
I like
different.
is that they feel really different, but they both feel like they're too smart and they're too wordy, but in totally different ways. But I also like that Nick's version of that is, oh, well, I was a writer before the internet, and now the internet's too fast. And you can feel her experiences trying to wrestle with this type of writing versus internet writing versus essay writing. There's all different sorts.
And we
so
have
that's fascinating.
We got to mention this. Lost the Number says the movie is so good.
Yes.
I think it really helps me with reading the book.
I agree.
And there's a little discussion about the movie that's happening in the chat right now.
Yeah, so the movie is directed by David Fincher. It's so good. It's one of my favorite book to film adaptations.
It's a freaking fantastic film. Yeah, it's really good.
The changes that they make sense, but everything feels very spot on. And I have to say, the casting for this movie,
perfect
you guys,
casting.
What did you?
Perfect
Hector,
casting.
Tell us why it's so perfect.
I almost want to find the section that describes Nick Dunn, but I don't know if he describes himself or if it's probably Amy Elliott in January 8th of 2005 when she describes Nick.
Her first section.
Her first little section when she talks about he's the kind of guy who carries himself like he gets laid a lot, a guy who likes women, a guy who would actually fuck me properly. I would like to be fucked properly. Okay, maybe not that part. Let me look for the part.
We're all adults
Let's
here.
see here.
Are there any kids?
Looking for
F-bombs.
the description of him. Distractingly gorgeous, the kind of looks that make your eyes pinwheel, that make you want to just address the elephant. You know you're gorgeous, right? And then move on with the conversation. He doesn't act that way, though. Man. Here we go. Here, I got it.
Yay.
I bet dudes hate him, : He looks like the rich boy villain in an 80s teen movie. The one who bullies a sensitive misfit. The one who will end up with a pie in the puss, the whipped cream, wilting his upturned collar as everyone in the cafeteria cheers. I mean, that's perfect casting for Ben Affleck. When the book basically
Ben Affleck,
describes
Robert
him.
Downey Jr., who actually played, was it in Weird Science? He was like the jock
was that
from
guy.
the 80s.
Or Andrew McCarthy.
But Ben Affleck has this, the whole story, Nick Dunn is so detached from everything. And you learn that he's detached because his father was detached, because of the home life that he grew up in.
Super misogynistic because of it,
Yeah, he has this attitude that is so I can't express my emotions, I can't. And this is not a knock on Ben Affleck because I think he is a phenomenal director and an incredible actor. But I also kind of think he's kind of a dick in real life. And that's not necessarily a bad thing all the time. I mean, it's tough to be Ben Affleck. The dude was in Reindeer Games. He knows how to make, you know what I mean? He knows how to make fun of himself, but he still, I think, is Ben Affleck. And it's he deals with a lot of shit, is what I'm saying. But I still think he is still this kind of Boston guy. He's just kind of a masshole. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And the casting for this character is, I've heard reports that he can be just kind of a difficult guy to work with, and he was maybe even a little distracted when he was filming this very movie. Yeah, and that's such perfect casting then. It's that's great because, that's just rumors and stuff that you hear, you're like, oh, that's too bad.
Fincher talks about on the commentary.
On the commentary for Gone Girl, he talks about how he's always looking at his cell phone.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, that's what Nick's doing.
They shut down production for 4 days over the baseball cap.
Over the baseball, because he didn't want to wear a Yankees cap.
Yeah.
That's kind of hilarious.
He's a Sox fan or something?
But it's, because he's, and that is one of the biggest long-standing rivalries in American sports history. But it's still that's also the douchiest thing ever to shut down production.
Get over it.
For days.
You're at work.
It's so funny.
Paid.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I feel for him because on the one hand, he's Batman, and that's the coolest thing ever. And you can tell that he loves that he's Batman. But on the other hand, he also hates that he's Batman because he will be incessantly asked about Batman for the rest of his life. Yep. So when I hear rumors that he wants to not be Batman, I'm like, I get it. And then it's he's like, no, it's rumors, man. I want to keep playing Batman. I also get that too because that's a rad thing that he gets to do. But yeah, it's just perfect casting.
He also seems like there is that level to him, but that he's conflicted, and that something else is going on with him, which I'm sure helps his work and helps him tap into all of these characters that he's played. And I also love Rosamund Pike, who I just think is excellent in the film. And if you guys have seen it, this book has a really great structure of the diary and the first person perspective for them. And you get two very different Amys when you first get to know the characters in this section, where Nick's version of Amy is this ice queen and nothing is good enough for her, and it feels like he's projecting a lot of his own insecurities onto her because she has money, because she's beautiful, because he's losing that. But hers, and granted it's a few years before, and so maybe something happened to her, but hers is, yes, clever, and yes, dry and biting, and I actually quite like that diary version of her in the beginning with the quizzes where she plays the breezy person, but inside is just fuck you. I like that a little bit.
She's basically saying and documenting that she is the perfect girlfriend when they mock the what is it, the monkey behavior?
The monkey boyfriend thing. Yeah. Do this, do that. Yeah.
And I kind of think it's funny where it's no, I'm just the kind of girl that likes my whiskey and just to chill out and we have sex. And it's I don't even care if he wants to go out and drink with his mates, totally fine.
Yeah. And then when it's interesting.
No, you're not.
Especially because
if you're writing
then
it
later,
down in a diary, no, you're not cool with it. You're definitely not cool with it.
Well, then later when she does get upset, she's like, and it's interesting how female this is. And I was like, fuck you, Amy.
Yep.
You're putting this on yourself when you are smarter than that, and you don't need to do that. We know you're smarter than that.
There's so many layers, and what I love, and I think having watched the movie is putting a magnifying glass to the clues, because as I'm reading, it's just like, she's really manipulative. She really loves games, especially mind games, you know, and it's spelling it out so clearly, the type of potential this woman has. But, you know, these little contradictions that happen all the time because of this past and present motion. And I really love that about the story. You've got present dialogue, and the whole story from Nick's side is written in present tense. And you rarely ever read a book set in present tense anymore. It's always reflecting back. It's always like a journal entry. It's always this is what happened. But this one is, I walk up to the bar, I grab a drink, I'm like, and it's currently in the motion of it all. And then to have Amy's entry from a long time ago, which is kind of melding and piecing things together, but having that written in not only things that were happening back then, but even prior to that. So you've got such past tense happening as well. And you're right, like the way that Gillian has written this book, you think you can really figure this person out, but then something else will happen. You're like, oh, okay, that really caught me off. Like I haven't figured this out at all.
You can't trust either of them,
exactly,
right? Because if you've seen the movie, you know. If you haven't, we won't spoil it for you. Things are more complicated maybe than they seem, because this is a twisty mystery.
She constantly leaves you in the dark, and she'll dangle a carrot, and then it'll get, completely
a carrot
disarray
like
you.
Ben Affleck's character Nick. Ben Affleck, he's not in the book, but Nick will say something like,
I'm seeing him in my head. So
of course, basically. So in the book, he'll say, when he's talking to the police, she had a master's degree, and then he'll say, I can't believe I slipped up like that. Anyway, and then keep going, and you're like, whoa.
He's an unreliable narrator too.
He's a very unreliable narrator.
And then it's like, we'll explain this. Have you ever seen this before, or have you heard about this before?
No, I haven't.
No, I lied.
And it was I was just getting started.
That was my 5th lie to the police, and you're like, oh.
What is going on?
Up to this point in the book, just like when you watch the film, up to this point, you don't know if he is guilty or not. And that's the point of this book. And Gillian, and here's what helps me, Maude, is that it's Gilligan's Island, not Gilligan's Island. That's what helps me. Gillian.
I like Gilligan Gone Girl.
Gillian Gone Girl.
Yeah, but you can say Gillian with a G.
I know you can, but you can't say Gilligan's Island.
But you can't
That's
say
what helps me.
John Joe.
John Joe. That's true.
I like
Gilligan Gone Girl.
Gillian
That's right. Gillian Gone Girl. That's right. But what I love is that is up to this point. I mean, I feel like that's the point of this book. That's the point of this thriller. That's the point of this movie. It's a page turner, and you're like, what's going on? And Flynn is killing it, man. Up to this point, you don't know what's going on.
And I think another layer to that is the media circus that comes around when a beautiful blonde white woman goes missing versus many other types of people who go missing or are hurt or murdered all the time. But also there are a lot of gender politics in this book about expectation about who's supposed to have the money, who's supposed to be the breadwinner, even when they talk about, and sort of the pressure that can put on someone even if they don't buy into that, it can affect you. But with the anniversary surprises where, gosh, let me see if I can find it.
Oh, you got a lot of highlighting going on.
Oh yeah, well I love the language in this book.
It's really good.
It's beautiful. It says, here's the mind games part. They're talking about the treasure hunt on page 18. There's 2 in here in just that section. So don't let her worry you. Go lit a cigarette. She smoked exactly 1 a day. Women are crazy. Go didn't consider herself part of the general category of women, a word she used derisively. Then later, treasure hunt. My wife loved games, mostly mind games, but also actual games of amusement. And for our anniversary, she always set up an elaborate treasure hunt with each clue leading to the hiding place of the next clue until I reached the end and my present. It was what her dad always did for her mom on their anniversary, and don't think I don't see the gender roles here, that I don't get the hint. That is there throughout the book, that she has the money, and even though we find out later that the parents are borrowing from the trust and that they both lost their jobs, and things are so much more complicated than who has the money and who has the power, but it really gets him. And it also gets her, that she doesn't want someone to find her just for money. She wants someone to see her. She wants someone to get it. She feels like they get each other. And for a while they do, and now they don't, and we don't know why, and we don't know what happened to her.
I know why.
There's such a nice little parallel as well between the relationship, not only between each other, Amy and Nick, but their parents as well. And it was interesting having this correlation of don't think I can't see that she's basically her parents, and that's not a hint that I can see. But then when Amy in a journal later is talking about Desi, saying how eerie and disturbed almost she felt when she met Desi's mother, who was a spitting image of him in a way, and how the mother was threatened by Amy's involvement in her son's life.
Oh, I didn't pick up on any of that.
Yeah, just as you were reading that, I'm just like, holy shit, it's so layered and it's so well done and it's chock full of everything. But I think what I really get from this book is every other time you only have one perspective, and so you find yourself following the behavior, the patterns, and putting yourself in the mindset of your protagonist.
Narrator, protagonist, right.
But what's happening in this book is that you are constantly having a wish-wash understanding of, do I even like these people? Because someone actually mentioned in the chat earlier about the conversation and the reasoning behind calling the bar the bar. And it was like, oh, you're a wanker. It's like, oh, we just wanted to call the bar because it was like satire and no one's going to get it. And then someone walked in the book into the bar and they were like, oh, it's like Breakfast at Tiffany's, where she calls cat. And it's like, oh, and I felt lesser because someone else got it. But then it's like, but that's the point. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah. Like, you're so unlikable. That's such a shit thing to say. And there's always little things like that, with Nick's character going, oh, it's my father. But I find myself also just thinking, bitch. And I'm in a mood right now where I just want a woman to make me a sandwich. Triggered. Oh my. It's like the amount of times I've been told to get in the kitchen and make someone a sandwich. It's like,
oh yeah, because
you can't
you're a woman
stand the
on the
heat, get
internet.
out of the
Sorry.
kitchen. I'm gone.
Yeah.
So,
and they're unlikable, and they both think they're so fucking smart.
Yeah.
When she's right,
that's the worst. They're insufferable people.
They're
so
terrible,
insufferable.
and that's why it feels like you recognize why they liked each other, because they're so full.
Yeah,
they
that's
both
true.
think they're so smart, and
pompous,
they're looking for someone who's
on their level.
as beautiful as them, that's as smart
well,
as
I
them.
think that Nick's sister.
But I like how shitty they are. I like unlikable characters because I feel
it's tough.
I definitely like Amy more than I like Nick, because Nick is a misogynist.
Yeah,
and so
that's a big
harder
deal
for
breaker
me to
But
like.
I think Amy's a liar.
She is a liar.
I think that even her early journal entries where she's talking about how much she fell in love with this guy, and even when she's talking about picking up after Nick when he becomes this horrible slob after he loses his job.
I was disgruntled by that. Yeah,
I was
Nick, I'm like,
just
cross.
just because we're getting sort of Nick's perspective at the same time, I can't help but read both of their journal entries as like false. As like, well, you don't have the complete story. This is just your side of the story. And with Amy, I feel like it's all for show. Amy is this person who, she comes from money, she comes from like a sweet setup, and she pretends as though she is away from it, and she talks about how, well, she works, I work. And other women in my position, they wouldn't even, I would love to just not work, but I work. And my parents gave me a trust fund, but only enough to still have to work in New York and to do this and do that. And I feel like it's all bullshit. She has this entire journal entry about how heartbroken she was when how heartbroken she was with the anniversary that Nick blew off, but the fact that all of his friends got laid off. But even before that, there's a journal entry that I think is really important where she talks about how she's not like a regular girlfriend, she's like a cool girlfriend because she doesn't get mad at the fact that Nick blew her off again.
Yeah.
With for a dinner with her friends, where it's like, is that the one where it's like, anyone would, it doesn't matter what. Anyone would be upset. It's not true.
She's obviously upset. And she also tries to admit, like, well, I'm not really upset because I don't really even care about my friends. It's not that big a deal. Nick came home and we made up and then had sex and it's great. And poor us. We have such a great relationship. I'm like, you're full of crap. Yeah. And she is somebody who cares so much about status. Yep. And she is somebody who cares so much about not being amazing Amy. And so I can't help but think that she is a person, a human being who is so full of shit. She thinks she's smarter than everybody. She comes from New York and she moves to Missouri and hates everything in Missouri. Yep. And at first, as I was reading the book, I was like, well, I get how frustrated she would be because that's such a tough thing. But then again, you learn more about the characters and the city and the town or whatever, you're like, well, F you, Amy. You're not better than people that are living in this town. You know what I mean? And both her and Nick have this attitude. So to me, they're both insufferable people.
They are.
I'll talk about this more when we get to the end of the story/movie, but I don't ever want to see the movie again. I have deep problems with this film and the book and the story. Huge, huge problems, but they're both super quality, but they're just not for me. I think it boils down to they're both asshole people that I don't want to spend any time with. And it's the same reason I gave up on Game of Thrones after a season. It's the same reason I gave up on Mad Men after a season. It's the same reason I gave up on
both of us equally with your
I know. What was the other one? Entourage after a season.
But
I gave all three of them a shot of like let me give them all a shot. And they do different. Yeah, they do different things.
The best show of all time.
They do different things, but still, it's the best show of all time. Following an asshole character in that first season.
Okay. Right.
Don Draper's a piece of shit.
Yes, who's the asshole in Game of Thrones?
Everyone is an asshole in Game of Thrones except for the guy who gets his head lopped off. Like that's literally season 1. Everyone's a piece of shit, and everyone's telling me, well, you got to give it 6 seasons, and then the character you hate will get theirs. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. But so, Mad Men, yeah.
I will just say because I could talk all day about Mad Men, so I won't do that. But if you want to talk to me about it on Twitter, just. But
they're great fucking shows. They're so good.
He's the villain.
Yes.
It's just that people don't necessarily pick up on that, and they think he's cool.
Sure.
I believe that story is actually about the women in the show and them succeeding throughout it. However, I will say I agree with you. I think they're super unlikable. I think what I like about Amy is that we don't get to see, like, we've seen Nick's before. I've seen Nick a million times.
Totally. And we've seen missing wives before in stories and movies and books.
I've seen an Amy before in something this big. And I like that there's space for a woman to be a piece of shit and smart and all of these things in this space and get as much of that as Nick. And I feel like I don't see that a lot. And so I like when I joke about like Ursula and Nerdist News Talks Back because I love Ursula and just
she's fantastic.
But I love female villains because I feel like
there's not enough of them.
It's the same argument about like strong female characters and how there's only one way to be a strong female character.
To be like a buff lady.
Yeah, she's strong, she's brave, she's good.
She wears the pants.
There's no like there's no anti-hero that's like vulnerable and makes the wrong choice and maybe is a little bit selfish, and that's maybe Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, that's a good one. But that's why I like.
But that's a whole nother bag. I love her, but she what a set it off. That's great. Wonder Woman is very vulnerable, but she's still also beautiful. Right, but also Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor is a terrible mother. Yeah. But man, what a great, well-rounded character. I love that character.
You get to have, there are different versions. That's the thing. There's not just one.
Exactly.
We resonate with different characters.
Exactly.
And so, but I agree with you. I think that they're terrible people, and we will get into the end.
Oh, man.
I'm interested.
Such big problems. I cannot wait.
There's a lot. Well, it's interesting because as we get into it, I don't know that there's a ton of differences yet
so far
from the book, but there are eventually.
Got it.
So, what about some of the other characters? What about Go? How do you feel about the casting of Go? And B, what do you think about sort of their relationship so far?
So I'm not wanting to watch the movie again until I've read a chunk of this. I'm gonna wait too, yeah.
I might do it soon. I might
wait till the end.
Because reading this, I had to look up the actress who played Margot Dunn. I had to look her up.
It's Carrie Coon, and she's fucking amazing.
And what else is she in? She's in Fargo, the show.
Leftovers.
She's in The Leftovers.
She's
in stuff I'm not.
She should have been nominated.
Is she in The Leftovers?
She's the main. She's
the wife.
Yeah.
Right. What? Judge Judy?
she's the one
Judge
who
Amy.
loses. No, she's the one who loses her whole family.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I got to rewatch. I thought she did a great job, but I couldn't picture her. I saw the movie in 2015 or whatever, 2 years ago. Yeah. I couldn't picture it in my head. When I looked her up, I don't know why I was almost picturing a Joan Cusack, maybe just because John and Joan, the fact that they're twins, but John and Joan aren't twins, are they, or are they? No, they're just siblings, right?
She's older.
Siblings. Thanks. But anyway, I think the casting is fine, but I want to rewatch the movie so that I can refresh her.
No, make it up.
Performance.
Yeah,
piece it together.
I like Margot in this because I feel like she's the only character that gets to call Nick out on his shit, that he won't have that reaction to, and it's maybe because he feels like she's a part of him, and so there's a little bit of weird.
Yeah, the weird part I don't get.
Yeah, this is a weird part. Go ahead, Mom.
Well, I mean, I've got 2 brothers, and I don't have entirely close relationships with them, so kind of having that banter, I was like, I can't place myself as Margot in this, but every other part I kind of can. And it's the person where it's like, you know what, I'm not going to say the things that you want to hear because the fact that she doesn't like Amy, it's like totally, like if you're going to
Amy was right because Amy said to Nick when they were in their relationship, I think the last thing she said to her, or one of the things she said to her was like, Amy might just be in love with the idea of you as opposed to being in love with you. And that is their relationship to a T.
Yes.
They were both in love with the idea of one another.
Exactly, and that's why their expectations
Which is why this whole thing is
let
fucked.
each other down.
This whole thing is fucked.
But what I love about this writing is that, you know, you're like, oh, this is a really great relationship. He's really grounded. He's treating his sister like his best friend. He has to be a good guy. But then they make it a bit weird, and she'll touch his nipple, or like, you know, they'll talk about fucking the other people.
Yeah, that's weird.
And that's it. So it goes over a sign. You're like, oh, this
the nipple thing was weird. Let's talk about the nipple thing
She
for a
just
second.
hugged him and just put a thumb
The
on
nipple thing was like
You're
Nick
reading it and you're
saying,
like,
Nick saying, we're not good at hugging. So she gave him like the one arm hug thing.
but then boop.
But then he also was like, her left hand was like rested on my nipple when she came in for a hug.
That's it.
And here's the rest of the story. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, why would you? Was that just him saying like they're not good at hugging, so that's why it was kind of weird, or was that like a weird sexual thing?
I think, I don't know, because we're only in his perspective, but I imagine that sometimes like people will bump you and you won't even notice because you're not thinking about it. I feel
I
like
did it recently.
when he's
Chris Hardwick's wife, I walked past and for the whole width of her butt, I'd grazed it with my hand. Yeah.
and it's like sometimes people, the other person doesn't notice because they're like,
Wait, hang on, I'm so sorry, Rachel. Mom, can you explain? I don't understand. For the whole
I just
width of
walked
her.
past, and as my hand was going, like in my hand movement, it just literally grazed. My hand just happened to be the same height as her butt. I touched the whole butt in my stride. And then immediately went,
How do you do that?
I've just touched your ass.
Oh,
and
you
then
did
looked
say
at
that,
Chris
yeah.
and went, I've just touched your wife's ass. I didn't mean to.
Good.
It was just the whole thing gonna go. I addressed it. I'm the kind of person that just addresses it.
that you
That's good.
address
That's the way to
it,
do it.
or like someone will be like, oh my God, and you're like, oh, I didn't, it's cool. Him thinking that to me felt like, okay, his perception is maybe
just awkward.
But then she also is very open with him
Yeah.
about stuff where
she was like, whip your dick around or whatever.
Yeah.
Like she's very crass
would
and she's
never.
like one of the
Yeah.
dudes.
Talk to my
I think that's
brother.
very funny.
It is funny.
I would, but also my sister would not appreciate it. That's the difference.
But it's that
Is
thing
that
where
I-
it's like 75%, you're like, yeah, cool, that's really awesome. And then you're like, wait a second. And this is like with all the characters, when you think about how Amy's written and how Nick's written. I think the great example of Nick is the parallels is when they were both let go, how they were able to cope and deal with it. And I love that, you know, it happened to Nick a little while ago and he started off so positive and then was spiraling. And by the time it happened to Amy, he like barely acknowledged it. It was like almost not even a shrug. It was like, well, that sucks. And then she resents him for not being able to bounce back and to kind of like hold it. That's that kind of thing. But I think what we read up to, it's definitely skewed to the perception. So Amy's description is weighing harder about Nick than Nick's is about Amy, because Nick is in a vulnerable position and Amy is writing from a place of pure honesty with nothing threatened.
And Nick
moment.
is somebody who doesn't have, even though he's a writer, he doesn't have the same affection, I guess, of memories as Amy does.
She cherishes
shut
things.
down too.
What's
He's
that?
very emotionally shut
Yes.
down.
Yeah.
So if in the few moments he's talking to the police about his wife in this investigation, he doesn't have the same language and care that Amy does when they're talking about, we went to that one restaurant and you ordered that one thing and you said that one thing. It's like, that's next level shit. That's
Yeah.
next level. And I almost
expects him.
I feel bad for Nick because I also have the worst memory of anybody I've ever met in my life. But Nick will have said at some point, I don't know if it was in her journal or in his recounting, that just because he doesn't remember those kind of details doesn't mean he doesn't love their relationship or like is important to them and stuff. But yeah, that stuff is not, it doesn't seem as heavy as the weight that is Amy's words, because she is so precise. And so when she's talking
Super
about Nick
emotional.
lounging around the house, you're like, she's so calculated and it's all so vivid and so real. And Nick is so like, I don't know, whatever, that stuff's not important. But
She is so descriptive with her writing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you can taste the liquid of the drink that they're, you know, and how they're drinking it and their demeanor. Like the way that she's writing is so descriptive that you can totally place yourself in it. But what I find fascinating with Nick in that scene talking to the police, he's almost referencing every time he's seen this in a movie. Sound familiar, Hector? And how
Yeah, that's how I live
the
my life.
actors
Yep.
should be reacting or how they have reacted and trying to apply that to himself. So it's like, all right, I don't know why I'm not upset, but I know that when this happens in movies, people are upset, so I should probably be like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are many different things that can happen to someone's mental and emotional state that can cause that disconnect. One of them is depression. And I know that like people have said either in their commentary on the book and the movie, like, oh, sociopath is like the go-to for that thing. But disassociation when you are depressed, when you have been laid off, when your parent has died, when your marriage is falling apart, that like not being able to bring yourself to emote the way that you're supposed to. I feel that from him, and I feel like you are supposed to wonder if he's guilty or not. So there is that level of it. He's withholding some of that. Something is going on. He's being watched in the beginning. He's been seen. Something he's done has been seen. But he also can't bring himself, because it feels like he hates Amy now. So it's like he knows he should be worried. He knows something bad happened. Everything has been knocked over.
But he hates her.
But but when they ask about him, or when he's supposed to call the parents, doesn't like the parents, doesn't care about the parents, doesn't really care about anything, went and had a beer at work, wandering through life, he's kind of going through the motions already. So when this happens, sometimes that can jog you out and you're like, oh shit, I have to react. He's not. And even to the point of the like initial press conference, he goes into automatic pilot, which is like, I know I'm unlikable. I know I have a super punchable, handsome face. And he smiles. And that shot in the movie,
it's perfect.
Sticks in my head because it's
great.
like, you dummy, you beautiful dummy. Like,
it's great. And I also think that
John Hamm could have played this part too a little bit, I think.
Absolutely.
Because he's handsome and a nightmare, and you're like, I don't care.
He's too
that you're
handsome.
a nightmare because you're so handsome.
It's too handsome.
Anyway, I love John Hamm.
Do you think that maybe as someone reading the book, you, in this initial part of the book, you are more empathizing with Amy because she
Let's ask the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about that.
Whose side are you on?
Seen the movie?
I'm on neither side because
read the book?
I think they're both assholes. But I'm so curious as to like how, as a reader, and I think we're all siding with Amy.
Well,
because she's gone. What happened?
Well, I think it's also because she's so emotional, and you can empathize with emotion,
opposite.
And he is giving you nothing.
I know.
And so you've got nothing to latch on
And that
to.
plays into the gender roles that they're talking about.
Yeah.
She, even though what she says and what she thinks gives off the appearance that she's not like that. And it's Margot does the same thing, and everyone did it. I'm sure I did in high school where you're like, I'm not like other girls.
Look at that shot. Look at that shot.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
Smiled.
And you're like, oh, just punch him a little bit. Just punch him right in the face.
He
And
did
she
it.
looks carefree and happy and has this softness to her. And
well, it's described in the book that it's like the most beautiful photo of her. And I kind of love that he describes that and says that. And like, when you have a movie, you just have to piece it together yourself. But when it's written out so eloquently, you're like, oh, here he is feeling inferior and going, of course, this is the most gorgeous photo of her. So it's lovely having that kind of like perspective and context.
Yeah.
It is a good
so
photo.
Pinkishly read the book, haven't seen the movie.
Interesting.
DeMarco
Pinkishly
read book,
also
seen
does
movie.
not like Ben Affleck as Nick at all. Can't really see it. But Pinkishly, you and when we were talking about
you
Ben
gotta watch
Affleck
that
being
movie,
perfect.
Pinkishly.
Everyone should watch the movie at the end, but everyone who, either if you've seen it or not, cast your characters for us, because that's always so fun.
Plaguewin says neither for me. So for people that have not seen the film and are reading this for the first time, what do you think is happening right now? Do you think that Nick did it? Do you think that Nick is hiding something from us, the reader, with his and giving us little clues with the slip-ups, with the this and
a lot
that?
of people haven't seen the movie.
You know.
This is fun. Okay.
Yeah, good,
I
good,
thought
good.
a lot of people would have, and
Same, and that would change our conversation completely.
That was disappointing me a little bit when we picked this, and now I totally regret even saying that, because reading it again, I was like, oh, the language is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great.
And the character work is so good. It's such a good book. But I'm glad, because we picked Murder Mystery, and as most of you know, I love mysteries and thrillers, so I wanted something that's like a whodunit, so it feels like we actually get. We're gonna have a lot of that.
At one stage, you were describing Amy at this portion of the book that she was super unlikable and a little bit psychotic. What were you saying? That she was just not like mean or
insufferable.
There was something that you were saying where she was
think
just
she's smarter,
super manipulative.
Very manipulative.
I was biased when I was saying that because I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that she's that bad.
But it's just maybe because we have seen the film and we've seen further into the story as to sort of what her life is.
I don't know. I feel like if you read between the lines in her experiences with him, and saying this
and it's not just
victimization.
Yes, it's not just her experiences with Nick. I'm reading between the lines and I'm picking up what type of human being she is. The fact that she does come from money, that just like Nick has massive insecurities, she has a lot of these insecurities that are driving her for competitiveness, for this amazing Amy comparison. Both of her parents are terrible human beings, that they created this whole thing. And they're both psychologists.
As a passive-aggressive way
to be like, we don't approve of your life decisions. Like, oh my God. No, I cannot, Rachel.
I quit the piano when I was 15 and I regret it. And I told my little brother when he quit the trumpet that he would regret it. He doesn't yet because he's only 17. But
the piano's way cooler than the trumpet. So
no, the trumpet is so cool.
Oh, I know, but the piano's so much cooler than the
He played in a jazz band.
Oh, well, piano's way cooler than a jazz band, right?
The drums.
There we go. You play the drums?
And I stopped at 13 and I regret it.
Yeah, it's one of
drums
those
are the coolest.
Imagine if your parents had all the things, even without instruments, all the things that you failed at from a little kid age. And then your parents are like, that's okay, we have fake Rachel who did all those things that she was supposed to do.
You would feel like a constant disappointment.
Yeah, you
so
would.
That coupled with Amy's observations about the world that Nick kind of calls her out on, including like, you know, when they moved to Missouri, Amy's like, oh, there's no black people here. And Nick was like, you don't have a black friend. Like, you had one black friend in New York. Like, that kind of shit where I'm like, I'm reading in between the lines with Amy as a human in that regard. On top of Nick being a douchebag, I think Nick is also just like a dumb guy, even though he thinks he's very smart. I think Amy's an incredibly smart person, but almost like diabolical.
Do you know what the difference is between the two? I feel like Nick can actually address where he went wrong, like why he's not living up to
because he references his father all the time. He says like, I smile because I know that I'm so emotionally stunted because of my father, and the only good thing I ever got was from my mom. Which to me says that Nick admits that the bad stuff he has is from his dad.
And Amy's a little in denial.
She will not admit when she's wrong or that she's done things bad, and she perceives and projects that she is a perfect person.
Marriage is the worst, you guys.
Oh, I mean that's part
of
it too.
The worst. This book is like, don't ever get married. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Hey,
woo! Oh boy.
Geekbomb just got married this year, and you're about to. I think part of me when I read Amy, I can feel some of the pressures and influences that she has. It's very different because I did not grow up in New York, and New York feels very alien to me, but I did grow up here, and I do sometimes catch myself if I go to where my boyfriend is from, which is a very small town, and it feels very different to me.
You go into Amy mode a little bit?
No, I feel the part of me that grew up in Hollywood being an asshole in my head. Not about people, but just it's not even being an asshole. It's more just like it's so different from what I experienced that I'm like, this is so unlike what I'm the same way.
I'm a city boy.
Yeah.
I'm a city boy, and anytime I go to a small town, whether it's my girlfriend's hometown or some other small, like it will blow my mind. I will become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I will feel like, oh, thank God I grew up where I grew up, which was kind of like a suburb of like a city, which was down in San Diego. I have all of these feelings. They're definitely swirling around, and a lot of it is judgmental shit.
Yeah.
A lot of it is absolutely judgmental shit, but a lot of it is also like, man, what would it be like for somebody to grow up in this small town? And then you meet people like that, and either they're awesome or shitty. They're awesome or shitty. And if they're shitty, sometimes they go, well, maybe it's because of the environment this person grew up in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same across the board.
I think there's too many variables. There's so many choices that you can make.
Yeah, it's
even if
more
bad things happen,
complex
it's still
than
a
that.
choice.
Yeah, and I think when she's talking about, and I think it's sad because I do feel like based on Margot's description of her or what she says to Nick, that she thinks that she's in love with the idea of him. She talks about her couple friends and is going through sort of how hard it is when
Amy
when you have all of your friends are either soulmates or have settled. And I don't know about you guys, but we're definitely, Amy's 32. We're all very young. We're practically babies. But
Maude, what are you, 22, 23?
No, 21 still.
21 still, that's right, still.
Go slow on the wine.
We started this show, and you couldn't even drink when we started the show a year ago. And just last month, you finally turned 21.
But
so great.
Fake ID.
But some people who might be older than that, or for example, are in an age where people are getting married, people are having kids, and you have that pressure or not, or
how many weddings have you all gone to this year? How many weddings so far?
I just had one at the beginning of the
So
month.
I don't go to that many only
this
because
month.
I have city friends, and I feel like my friends are very jaded, and maybe that's from being a city, or there are more divorces, and I don't know. But
maybe. Okay,
a
so
lot
not
of
that
my
many?
friends had divorced
It'll happen
parents.
soon. It'll happen soon.
I've had a few,
Yeah.
but not my close friends. But she talks about when she runs into Nick again after he like completely blows her off, and she's talking about these terrible, shitty dates, and goes, and then you run into Nick Dunn on 7th Avenue as you're buying diced cantaloupe, and pow, you are known, you are recognized, the both of you. You both find the exact same things worth remembering, just one olive, though. You have the same rhythm, click, you just know each other. All of a sudden, you see reading in bed and waffles on Sunday and laughing at nothing and his mouth on yours. And it's so far beyond fine that you know you can never go back to fine. That fast, you think, oh, here's the rest of my life. It's finally arrived.
That's so romantic, but also
it's
super
not
messed
real.
up.
It's not real.
It's not real, but it's also very romantic.
understand.
That language is so great.
It's beautiful.
It's like they don't know anything about each other, but she's already seen their future.
She thinks about it when she first meets him of a year in the future, and she thinks he should run and I should run and I should feel bad. And those things are true, but they're also very natural, and I think all of us at some point have romanticized things like that. But the sad truth is, being with someone for any person for a long time, be it a friend, a roommate, a coworker, a person you're with, is hard because people,
a sibling, family
you
member,
don't
it's
know
hard.
what they're thinking, you don't know their experience, and even if they tell you, you'll never really know.
Yep.
And if you're very smart or very cagey, I think we can say without getting into if people are manipulative or bad or anything, these two people are very cagey.
Yeah.
Super cagey.
She even, when her perspective, which I like because I'm very in my head, not in a as hopefully as much of an ass sometimes judgmental way as Amy, but the quiz thing where she's like, do you say these things that you're really thinking, or do you say the thing that makes you seem that you should seem? And like I feel like I can very much understand that.
I want to have a little bit of conversation while we have a second about the language of Nick when he first meets Amy and how he just describes her head.
Yeah.
Not her facial features, not her beauty or
the back of her head that he recognized.
And the way he talks about her head.
That he wanted to split it open.
That's it.
And have her brains pour out.
Well,
and like sift through her brains.
That's
romantic, but also messed up.
That's the opening
shot of the movie.
The movie, it's the opening paragraph in the book, and I will say that, again, without spoiling anything, that sets the tone. That you did it
Maude,
again.
do you want to, what? What did I do? That's how I drink wine. What did I even do? It's normal. Golly.
But, I mean, there is Gillian Flynn. You did it. Gillian Flynn is very if anything, I would say that having read all three of her books too, Gillian Flynn, her precision of language. It's a callback, y'all.
Wow. Nice. Get a wrinkle on.
Is beautiful. The way she describes everything in two different perspectives, I love, but there is a point here. There is a reason for everything that she's doing. There's a reason that he's withholding. There's a reason that the shot opens with that and you're like, well, that's sweet because knowing the back of your head is intimate, but also who
I
wants
didn't
to
get that.
killer.
I didn't get sweet at all.
No, I mean, you can, but it's like
I did
violent.
get sweet, but it is also very violent because he was able to pick out the back of her head in the crowd. Which
I don't
think
find that
is,
romantic.
I think it's romantic. Can you, but can you picture though Barack Obama saying like, I was able to see Michelle's head. I knew the back of her head anywhere.
No,
I'm
in any
glad
crowd.
that we had an
Obama is a
impersonation.
prince. Did you?
Yeah, he is.
Did you
Yes, I
see
did. Yes, I did. That's why I'm like, it could be romantic.
Did you
It
see
could be.
the video? It was.
But
it
it's
was.
not.
Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's 25th wedding anniversary yesterday, and he interrupted. Who was she with? She was doing.
She was oh my gosh, she was with Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah, and they were doing an interview with Michelle Obama, and he interrupted for a video message
Hey,
to
Michelle.
wish her a happy. I know. I saw it last night. And I was like, oh god.
Yeah, it's so great.
Don't ever compare Obama
so
to
great.
Nick Dunn. He's a prince.
My wife, Missy. It's time for me to smile.
But
Michelle, come home.
Everyone in the chat, let us know what you're thinking so far. Let us know if you're enjoying it. I really want to know really quick if we have time. What would be the most embarrassing, this is a really good question they put in there, what would be the most embarrassing diary entry from your youth? Did you guys keep a diary?
No.
No?
I started a
God,
couple
I
a
didn't
few
have
times.
teddies. I didn't have stuffed animals.
Oh, I used to have to.
Maybe you're a psychopath,
Never mind,
Maude.
I'm
Maybe
not
you're a
gonna.
serial killer.
I used to.
I
I had a like collection of pals,
Mm-hmm.
and I would kiss them all goodnight, and then I would give an extra one to like my fave, and then I would feel bad and give the rest.
This is a 40-minute endeavor every night before you go to bed. Like, that seems so
They
you,
probably
Rachel.
need to be
That's-
washed, but you wouldn't
yeah.
let your mum wash them because it would wash away the love.
Mm-hmm.
Embarrassing diary entry.
That's mine. I'm not saying another one.
I remember the thing that
I had an embarrassing one.
You go.
I think when I was 12, I tried to start a journal because boys had journals and girls had diaries. It's so
Yeah.
dumb.
I called mine a journal.
Okay, so
Look
Because
at
I'm
Bound.
not like other. No.
I think I started one when I was 12 when I was like, the girl down the street, she's so pretty. I love her so much. She's so great. And then like it didn't end up working out, and then years later a buddy of mine found it and like, what's this? And I was like, I don't know, man. And then he started reading. He was like, hey, are you talking about that one girl? Because he was like in high school, and I was like, no, this is somebody else. But it was like,
You don't even know her.
it was like very much her. Who cares?
There's
Yeah.
a girl from Canada.
Yeah. Oh man.
This is her first name and her last name, and this is the school she goes to. Nah, it's a coincidence.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't put her name. I was purposely vague. That's what's embarrassing. Is I was like, dear diary, she saw me, like that kind of crap where you're like
You,
purposely vague.
As a young boy,
We're
were made
romantic.
to feel like being romantic and having those feelings was wrong, and you didn't want to say her name. 'Cause
Probably.
It's
Or
embarrassing.
you thought that
But
someone
if-
would find it eventually and read it.
Maybe that's what it
and
was
destroy
too.
you
Maybe
with
that's what
that
it was too. Yep.
information.
Yeah. Mon, what was yours? What was your embarrassing
I think I
diary
actually had one
entry?
when I was 7, but I used to draw a lot in it. Just
how
everyone would have a
embarrassing.
love heart head. But I mean, my embarrassing story was I had a shit of a brother. So I had a McDonald's.
The one who just got married?
Yeah, I had a McDonald's. I roasted him in my speech. Trust me.
Yeah, man, I wish I could have seen that.
Oh,
That'd have been
I was
great.
like,
Did anybody
you know
tape
what?
it?
I was
Somebody recorded it, right?
probably.
Share it. Put it online.
I was like, my brother said I could roast him, but I thought about it, and I was like, this is his wedding day, and I'm so chuffed that he, wanted me to speak for him. So I won't. I decided, no, I'm not going to roast him, and I actually did the rest of my speech. And everyone goes, oh my god, it's so funny how you said you wouldn't roast him, so you spent the whole speech roasting him. And I was like, I really did, and that was completely unintentional.
Good.
But I had a McDonald's birthday party. It was all the rage when you were kids because you got to play a lot of games. You got the ice
Wow.
cream
Did
cake.
you have the balls?
Yeah, ball pit.
Ball pit?
No, this one was
Play
pass the
place?
parcel. Do you know pass the parcel? So you know how you've got to pass parcel. And I've been to so many of these
No,
birthdays.
first of all, we call it mail here in the United States. A parcel? Is that what you're talking
the
about?
game is pass
It's
the
like a
parcel,
package.
where
I've
you've
never
got the
heard that.
gift and then you pass it around the circle, and then when the music stops, you unwrap a layer. And eventually, after all the
musical
layers,
presents?
there you go. After all of it, there's a prize. And
Pass
I've
the
been
parcel
to.
sounds so much better. Why wouldn't we call it that?
What do you call it? Musical presents?
No,
I didn't
we
even
don't
have
call it that.
I've never
So
heard
this
of
is a
this.
traditional game that we
Okay.
have. And knowing that I knew that the birthday girl or boy would receive the prize at the end. That's just how it worked. Just so happened that the trainee McDonald's employer who was tasked to run my party did not care at all. And on the last one, I was going so slowly, and I knew she would stop it, and she didn't. So I passed it to my brother, and she goes, "Oh, whoops," and stopped it. And he was like, "Yoink, rip! I love it! My present! This is so much fun! I love my present! Look at it, but it's mine!" I burst into tears. But the thing was, I couldn't stop crying, to the point where I was hysterically chucking a tantrum and screaming in a fit. And my brother's like, I got sent to the car on my own birthday, and I watched people have my birthday party and eating my cake.
That's not embarrassing. That's so sad, and I want
That's
to.
really sad.
Kinda punch her.
I can one up you though. I can one up you.
Well,
Can I one up you with
we have
sadness? Or are we
time?
out of time? We're out of time.
We're out of time.
I'll make you feel better, Maude. I was 5 years old. My mom decided I think we need religion in the house. I think we need religion because my parents
birthday.
And
both
let me guess, you never had a Christmas or a birthday your entire influential childhood.
Until
because
12
this
years
is the
old.
third time you've told this story.
Have I really on this show?
Yeah.
We got wine back. Jehovah's Witness, y'all.
I listen.
Jehovah's Witness.
We got the
I
wine back.
listen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I could tell the story actually word perfect, I think. At
Really?
this stage. Yeah.
Go for it.
I wasn't until you were 13 that I think it happened back. But she didn't take all of the religious aspects. She kind of just took the shittest part.
Yes, that's accurate.
And he got really upset.
She feels bad about it to this day. Anyway, that's it. That's
Y'all,
hey!
we wish we had 5 hours to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, this is a lot to talk about. I really love this.
And I didn't even get to say my catchphrase, which was, Amy, girl.
Oh, she gone.
She gone, girl. She gone.
I can hear every time we
Amy,
say gone, girl. I'm like, I can picture
she
you
gone,
saying,
girl.
oh, she gone.
She gone, girl. She gone.
Oh my God.
I got home today. My roommate, I was reading. My roommate showed up.
Knobloch.
My roommate, Keller Knobloch, and he saw this book and he was just like, girl, she gone, girl. That's all we would say to each other.
Yay!
Well,
She gone. What's our homework,
please
Rachel?
read to page 206 in our book, which is this one right here. It's also Nick Dunn 7 Days Gone if you're listening to it or reading on the Kindle. Nick Dunn 7 Days Gone.
What chapter is that one?
That's just what the chapters are just
there's
called
no
5
chapters,
Days
it's
Gone.
just-
Yeah, so it's a little tricky, but
Got it.
hopefully you guys figure it out. We trust you. You're smart.
That makes
It's
sense.
like halfway through the book. Yeah.
Oh, and just a quick audio. If you're listening on Audible, it's actually really, really good. The guy reads Nick's parts and a girl reads Amy's parts, and I'm all
like
about it.
that.
It's really
Love
great.
it.
Yep.
I know.
Love
I'm
it.
kind of tempted to switch over, but I'm bad with audiobooks. Don't forget, we're also on Goodreads. Search Alpha Book Club and come discuss with us. Send us your recommendations. If you're interested in joining us on Skype, on the show, just let us know on Twitter at Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. We'll get you all set up. It's so much fun. Come join us. Send us your book recommendations to @Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. We're checking it. If you guys want more books that we're reading, we're also reading other stuff at the same time, so talk to us on Twitter.
Yes, we
You
are.
can find us. You know where we are.
I'm up
we
to
love
book 3
you
of
guys.
Dresden Files, guys.
Ooh, I need. Okay, let me know when you're up to
Just
like
finished- I'm about to finish Full Moon.
6.
Okay.
And then I'll start them again.
Okay.
I'm still on book 1 of Star Trek 50th anniversary trilogy.
So cool, man.
Captain to
That's
Captain.
so
It's really good. I'll keep you
Oh
guys
my God,
posted.
Captain to Captain.
It's
That's
super
a really cute
It's
name.
really great.
We love
So
you guys.
cool.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, she gone.
She gone, girl. Girl.
She gone.
She gone, girl.